It is my name, but I don't really want it. So maybe try it with like something you know is a yes, like whatever your favorite food is, try that and see if you go forward. So, because sometimes if it's something that you have an aversion to or something, like it has to be a solid yes. Yeah, so then I'll move into like the things that I know, the foods, and then you can move into things where you don't know the answer to. So I'll start with like clothing. So in the morning I'll wake up and I'll go in my closet and I'll say, hey body, do you want to wear pink today? Hey body, do you want to wear blue today? Right? And start amplifying your own intuition. It's a really good way to start trusting yourself as well, because a lot of people that start using their intuition, especially people that have the claircognizance, the knowing, where there's like they're not seeing anything, they're not hearing anything, they just know, they tend to have a lot of trust issues with themselves because they're like, where is this information coming from, right? They don't trust the answers that they're getting. So when you start building up your intuition in like the truth testing way, you start to really trust yourself, right? We're never gonna start with like a big question like, hey, should I quit my job today, right? We always wanna build up with those little things and get really good. Another thing too is if we do have a preconceived belief about it, we can override our truth testing or our intuition, right? So if I already think that when I go sell my car to Joe, he's gonna rip me off, and I ask, hey body, is Joe gonna rip me off when I sell him my car? I'm gonna get a yes, because I already believe he's going to, right? There are some ways that we can get around that. We can run clearing statements and let go of any beliefs that we have. There's ways to bypass it, right? We can just say, hey, if I were to bypass everything I think to be true about this, body, truth, and then truth test it, right? When we're getting into the clairs, we can start playing like psychic games, right? So if you have a friend, you can get flashcards that have shapes on them, colors on them, and you can start playing that way. Like, what card am I holding up? And then whoever's holding the card gets quiet and they visualize sending it to the other person. The other person works on receiving it, and then you say what you think is on the card, right? We're allowed to be wrong. Like, I do readings, I have no problem laying 5 cards and telling you something and you being like, no. I'm like, all right, scrap those cards, let's start again. Because sometimes we misinterpret the energy that is coming through, especially when it's for someone else, right? That took me a little while to get there, but when we're doing it for self, we have to always be willing to like trust the information until more information is provided, right? So when we're playing those psychic games though, that's a really good way to work on it's okay to be wrong. And like I said, it's a muscle, you build it up. So maybe today you play it, you do it 10 times, you only get 4 right. And then in a week from now, you get 6 right, and then you get 10 right, and then you get 8 right, and then you get 8 right, and then you get 6 right, and then you get 10 right. There's, you know, there's no right or wrong in that, and it's not judging ourselves for when we have more off days or when we're not getting it right. You can get yourself a pendulum and start playing with that. You can get yourself oracle cards or tarot decks and start playing with those. And once again, just making it fun, right? You don't have to memorize the deck or memorize the things. You can use the book at first. You can just take a card and pick it up and feel what it feels like in your body. Like when you look at that card, you close your eyes and you say, okay, like, what does this image represent? What do these colors mean to me? What about the number on the card? Is it a male? Is it a female? Is it scenery? Like, and just use your intuition for that to see what it feels like for you. You can also do like guided meditations. Some of the ones that are really good for like amplifying your intuition is like connecting with spirit guides. You can do automatic writing, so where you sit down with a paper and a pen and you just ask your higher self or your guides, what do I need to hear today? When I first started intuitive writing, I would get one word, or I would get 3 individual words. Like there was never like a clear message, right? So it's being okay with that. That is what it is today. What do these words mean to me today? Like I once went into a guided meditation and had one of my guides show me a rock, a pot, a flower, water, and then a sun. And it was like sequential order. And then once I sat with that, it was like, you know, you have to water and nurture yourself in order to bloom. Like, there was a nature aspect to it as well. So we don't always get the message right away, but it will be in there if we're willing to let it sit. Sometimes we get symbols, they're very cryptic. We have to kind of just sit with it. We don't always get the information all at once right away either. So you could be asking your higher self for a message about something that you want to do. You know, like, should I make this move? Should I take this job? And you might get a little snippet of something today that you're kind of like, okay, I need to look into this more. But then tomorrow more information comes in. You may get into your car and a certain song comes on the radio and there's a message in that for you, right? So if you're always sitting in the energy of the question and allowing it to come in, it can come in different ways. This is my belief, so you guys can take it as you will. I don't believe there's any right or wrong way to do any of this. I believe what works for you, works for you, what works for you, works for you. And we all have our own individual way of doing it, right? If you are looking at getting into the realm and like possibly like doing readings or healing or anything like that, it is very good to find a mentor that you resonate with, and who resonates with you might not resonate with me. It doesn't make it wrong. It doesn't make it any better than the other way. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. You know, it's there's so much open in this that we don't know about or can't see. So to say like this is the way and the only way, I think is a little bit limiting to us, right? So I like to sit in the energy of like what else is possible, and the possibilities are endless. Anybody have any questions?
Do you find that there are prerequisites to developing psychic abilities, and then also certain ones build on previous ones?
I don't think there's prerequisites. I would say it's beliefs, like beliefs that we have. Yeah, I don't think there's like a natural progression for it, because if I'm looking at like my circle of friends, I know quite a few like energy workers, readers, psychics. We've all kind of taken different paths. I will say that most of the psychics and readers here, like if you were to go ask them, it would all go back to childhood. Like if we all look back, there's been signs and things that have happened throughout our lives. But I would think that's pretty accurate for most people. Does that answer your question?
Well, my personal experience with it is that certain things like that muscle analogy does not really work for certain psychic abilities. I find that just doing the ability, it doesn't get any stronger, whereas energy work and breath work somehow makes the ability stronger, even if you don't actually practice this specific ability. And then when you do this energy work consistently and then go back to doing the same ability, it's much stronger afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think some things build on each other, and then for some things like telepathy, you want to work on the senses first, so that you can like have the clairvoyance and seeing with those senses, and then you can focus on tuning into people and picking up on things. And then for remote viewing, there seems to be different levels of it that build onto it, where you can get deeper into the ability.
Yeah. I would say it goes back to that whole, like, it's a muscle and you have to build it the more you use it. And I think these abilities all tie in together too. So when you're saying, like, if you do this thing and then you add in breath work and stuff, like, I think they do all, they all complement each other.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions?
Are there any specific abilities that you work on a lot?
That, like, what are the ones I use the most? Claircognizant is definitely my strongest one. Then clairvoyance. Clairaudient is like, I find I get it more for me personally, not for others. So I'll get, like, clairaudient messages that are, like, personal for me.
When you listed all these senses, you never really mentioned like tactile. I find that I have a very highly developed